middle. So y'all come on up. Y'all come on, don't be scared because y'all gonna have an opportunity to engage, and I don't want to have to walk too far to get to you, okay? Amen. All right. Amen. Amen. Well, welcome. Thank you. I'm gonna try this again. Y'all do me worse than my members do. Welcome. Good evening. So great. Hey, amen. Let's give the Lord a great big hand of praise. We are here. We thank God for the South Dallas Fair Park Faith Coalition and this our candidate forum. We know that our district is important to us, and we have had a number of forums already, but we decided to have one in our community, of the great historic community of Queen City, so that we can hear our candidates and their vision specifically for our community here in sunny South Dallas. We're grateful. There's the South Dallas Fair Park Faith Coalition along with Cynthia Wallace and our partners with Dallas Free Press, Revitalize South Dallas, and all of our partners here, ICDC, and everybody, Calvin, our attorney, for everybody who needs one. We are just grateful. We just believe in partnerships and relationships. I know it's cold. I got hot, so I'm going to turn it up just a little bit, okay? I'm not going to freeze you, but it is a little cold. So I'm going to adjust that as soon as I get off. The format will go after we have this part of our forum. Then we will go into the fellowship hall where you can have one-on-one conversations with them. If your question was not answered, you will have an opportunity to ask them directly. We want to create an environment where you can touch their hands, you can engage them, because your vote is your way in which you shape your own community, and you ought to have as much information as you need. And so that's why we wanted to create this forum, because there are so many things going on in our community that we want to make sure that we understand their vision for those who desire this great office. I welcome you to the Salem Institutional Baptist Church here in sunny South Dallas. I am so grateful. Yeah, give me a hand. Amen. We're so grateful. Amen. Again, we want give respect. We thank God for our partnership with Dallas Free Press. Carrie, the director of Dallas Free Press, will be our moderator. And so she has questions that she has prepared, but then there'll be an opportunity to pass the mic and have questions from the audience. So begin to formulate those in your mind, and then we'll go to like 7:30, 7:20, and then we'll go to the fellowship hall to have additional engagement. I'm going to tell you like I do on Sunday morning. I believe what Scripture says. Let everything be done decently and in order. Have I got a witness here? Let it be done decently and in order. That's not only for us, but that's for our candidates as well. This is a time for education as well as tuning the vision. So I'm grateful from the bottom of my heart.
That would be me. Sorry.
All right. Thank the candidates for coming. Again, we invited all of our candidates. We have two that were unable to be here. We do know life happens. So they're not sliding this format, but they're just unable to be here. So now we're in the hands of Carrie Mitchell from Dallas Free Press. If you'll give her a hand as we get started.
Hey, everybody. Am I on? Not as loud as last time? That's good. Thanks, everyone, for coming. Thank you, Reverend Dr. Atkins, for hosting us this evening. And the South Dallas Fair Park Faith Coalition is an incredible civic group in this community. I'm honored to be here. Just as he said, we will have several questions, and then you will have a chance to ask questions. Our Dallas Documenters team is here tonight. Raise your hands if you're a documenter. Yay, thank you. These are our folks who go to public meetings and record public meetings and know how to take notes and know what order is all about. They're going to be passing out little pieces of paper with pens. You are welcome to write your questions on the pieces of paper that we'll collect, and Reverend Atkins will sort through them. If we have time for questions from the floor, we'll do that too. Just wanted to let you know that. I also passed around, I think, we have a complete voter guide, dallasfreepress.com/vote, where this form will be added, all kinds of voter resources will be added, candidate questionnaires, so please continue to pay attention to that. Our goal is to make sure everyone knows what they need to know in order to vote on May 3rd. Did we mention that? May 3rd is Election Day, and early voting is April 22nd through 29th. This is Mr. Courtney Hogan of the League of Women Voters. He will be our timekeeper this evening, and most of our questions have a 1-minute time frame. The candidates know this, and so they will be keeping to that. Except for this first question, which is just a 30-second intro, if you don't mind. And I'm gonna start with different people each question. We're just kind of gonna keep going. Mr. Rivas, I can't really see you, so hopefully you can.
I see you.
Good, wonderful. For this one, we will start with Mr. O'Neill Hessen, who's right to my left.
Yes, ma'am. Test. Can y'all hear me? Yes. Excellent. How y'all doing? My name is O'Neill Hessen. Thank you, Queen City. Thank you, Reverend Atkins. Again, my name is O'Neill Hessen. I am running for your seats. My main priorities is to maintain the cultural integrity of this district, and specifically South Dallas. We are seeing displacement and gentrification happening in our community, and we don't have control of the economy that we're trying to maintain within this district. So if we want to be able to maintain our economy, maintain our district, maintain our culture, please vote for me. My name is O'Neill Hessen. Thank you.
Ms. Walker.
Hi there, I'm Sydney Walker. I'm a resident of South Dallas. I grew up here, and I just want to take time to kind of tell you my story in a very condensed manner. So for the last 12 years, I've been in a major war with my kids. And one thing it taught me is how to be strategic, how to play the game, and also how to come out a winner and understand that some fights are not races, they're marathons. And with me, that's what you're going to get, is someone who's going to look deep into the future and plan things and make sure that outcome comes out on the other side. Thank you.
Mr. Rivas.
All right. Hey, good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me tonight. It's a real pleasure to be here. My name is Jose Rivas. I'm a lifelong district resident, born and raised here, graduated from Skyline. Any Raider fans in the audience? Woo! All right, there we go. All right. Born and raised here. I'm focused on displacement of our elderly and working class families. I'm focused on public safety, the safety of our families and our neighborhoods, and economic growth in this district. Thank you.
Mr. Bazaldua.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and I want to say thank you to Pastor Atkins for spearheading this, but also the Faith Coalition and all partners, Revitalize South Dallas, for having us today. I am running for my last and final term of eligibility. For the past 6 years, we have made strides. We're dealing with a district, unfortunately, that has been neglected for far too long in this city. And I have been a fighter at City Hall. We've brought historic investments to our community. We've brought historic investments in infrastructure, and I will answer questions.
Thanks so much. As you all know, this is the Dallas City Council District 7 race. That district includes the neighborhood we're in right now, South Dallas, Fair Park. Reverend Dr. Atkins has been very specific. He wants this forum to focus on South Dallas, and he wants you to be as specific as possible in your answer. So I will give that to you as instruction and then let you know that we may be interrupting you if we're not doing that. So the first question we want to talk about is the big one. What is your vision for South Dallas, and what role will you play in bringing it into reality? Ms. Walker, let's start with you.
Sure. The biggest thing is that South Dallas has seen a lot of plans being put together, and the South Dallas Fair Park plan was updated during 2024. So at this point, we've seen plenty of plans being put together and being put on the shelf and the back burner. And so at this time, it is just time to implement it. So because the community agreed to it, they put their input into it, then it's time to just hit go with it. And that's my plan, is to actually bring that plan into fruition.
Great. Mr. Rivas.
Yes. So economic development and growth in this district is really important. We've, like Sydney was saying, we've got plans that are being developed. We've got PDs that are 20 years old that need to be updated before we start developing plans over the top of old PDs. So it's very important that we do that. We've got to bring in investment that bring jobs and opportunity to our residents and a higher quality of life. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bazaldua.
Yes, despite what some answers have mentioned, we've had actual community engagement for 3 years on South Dallas Plan. In fact, it was originally intended to address PD 595, which is now out of date, but it was something that was extremely necessary and was a tool that was used to help clean up businesses in South Dallas and provide economic opportunity for the existing community. So we're excited for the progress that's being made. In fact, it's actually scaled to be passed in the next month. I want to thank both of our chairs and the community members who worked on it that are in here in the audience tonight. Again, for far too long, I saw that there wasn't representation that reflected the community of South Dallas. And although I live in the other part of our district, my focus in large has been in South Dallas because I believe if you believe in equity, there's no question about where the resources need to go.
Thank you, Mr. Bazaldua. Mr. Hessen.
Test. Yes, ma'am.
There you are.
Oh, thank you for your question. I'm hearing a lot about economic development from this panel, which is absolutely correct. We do need to look at trying to revitalize and rebuild our economy, specifically in South Dallas. However, economic development has been to the detriment of the people of South Dallas. We have not seen the fruits of our labor. We have not seen the fruits of that investment that goes into these neighborhoods that are continuing to suffer. Every time I live out in Mill City, y'all, every time I'm going down and I get my food from Lola's Kitchen off of Lego, and there's so many different small businesses off of Lego, off of Second, off of Malcolm X, and they're all struggling to stay alive. And we already know the history of South Dallas. We had all the amenities that we need, specifically in our black and brown neighborhoods. We had those small businesses. We had areas to go to make sure that we can spend our money. And now we're fighting to make sure that we can maintain the small businesses that already operate, that have been operating in South Dallas. I want to bet on South Dallas. I can bet that we will be able to change from within. Thank you.
In this neighborhood, we simultaneously have legacy homeowners, home repair programs, and new houses being built that are grossly incompatible with the existing community. It appears as though these three realities are competing with each other. What is the balance, and what specifically can your office do about it? Mr. Rivas.
Thank you for that question. The primary reason that I jumped into this race was because of the displacement that is coming from the Forward Dallas that recently passed. That is hurting our elderly, our generational families. It's hurting our working class families. It's raising rents. It's raising taxes. And that is the reason I jumped into this race, because I want to protect our residents. I want to modify that document at City Hall to make sure that our residents' voices are heard and that input is taken so that we can put forth a policy that is representative of everyone. Each neighborhood is different, but your voice is important and it needs to be heard.
Thank you, Mr. Bazaldua.
Thank you. Well, there's been a multifaceted approach over the past 6 years, and one thing that I had to combat was the fact that we have had an intentional concentration of poverty in South Dallas. That has been what has unfortunately resulted in our inability to attract retail and for businesses to sustain. And so I think it's been most important for me to concentrate on a mixed housing model. We have to bring in affordability, but we also have to welcome in some other market rate. In addition to that, tools are needed. And home repair has been a priority of mine and something that I've added money to every single fiscal year budget, in addition to any time I have gotten discretionary dollars. We have added to and enhanced our home repair program, not just for minor repairs, but for major repairs as well. We've had over 30 single-family homes just in the past 2 years that have gotten $100,000 each. We've had more homes in District 7 than any other district in our city that has been for home repair.
Thank you. Mr. Hessen.
Yes, ma'am. Test. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. When it comes to our legacy homeowners, that is a staple of my policies and what we're going to be pursuing within O'Neill office. Listen, when it comes to home repair, I've personally done it. We remediated 17 homes in South Dallas alone. And these people that we remediated, these are our elderly. These are our folks with disability. These are our folks who are veterans, that they are struggling to maintain their homes. And guess what? We already know where equity comes from. We already know where wealth comes from. Listen, majority of the folks in South Dallas are renters. We need to make sure that we can take our renters and bring them into home ownership. But the only way to do that is to maintain our legacy homeowners. Because where do you think we're going to be able to get those homes from? Where do you think that the elder, they're going to be able to pass it down to their family that are renting? They need to have a home. And so with legacy, we've remediated 17 homes through our Get Up to Code program. We've actually used the home repair program with one of our candidates, and she couldn't get the money because there was so many people wanting that program. Thank you.
Ms. Walker.
Sure. One thing that I worked on with Derek Avery before he started running for county commissioner was we put together a TIF for the South Dallas area, and that's the tax increment financing program. And just to kind of let you know is that current land values would be the base for the TIF, and then as values increase, that difference would then be put into a pot in order to fund projects. Now, one thing before Trinity Groves came to be, when all of the legacy homeowners there were thinking that they were going to get displaced, is there was a cap that was put on the property owners' bill so they could stay in their property longer and be able to make a decision if they wanted to sell or if they wanted to stay. So I would work to get the TIF passed for South Dallas and look at what we can do to cap the property taxes for our legacy homeowners.
Thank you. Queen City neighbors are working with the Landmark Commission to form a historic district. When it reaches the City Council, will you approve it? I need a yes or no answer to this, and you'll have yes. Queen City neighbors are working with the Landmark Commission to form a historic district. When it reaches City Council, would you approve it? Yes or no, and you'll have up to a minute to elaborate. Mr. Bazaldua.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, I think that there's a misconception and quite frankly, an intentional misinformation that's being spread about Forward Dallas. Forward Dallas doesn't touch the standards that we're trying to protect in our community. Forward Dallas is actually a document that's going to help communities like South Dallas more than anything, because we know we have to grow our property tax base in this city. Our residents deserve for this property tax base to be increased, but not at the expense of displacing our community. So overlays and historic preservation are absolutely necessary. We want to maintain the aesthetic integrity of communities. We want to have new dwelling types be aligned with what exists there already. These are the tools that we have that already exist that a comprehensive land use plan doesn't even touch. And these are the minutia details that matter on why experience is what you should hope for as we move into some very critical decisions that are going to shape the future of South Dallas.
Thank you. Mr. Hessen.
Yes. Test. Yes, ma'am. Absolutely, it's going to be a yes. Again, that is something that is extremely critical when maintaining the cultural integrity of South Dallas, is that we have to have that preservation. We have to preserve what makes South Dallas the sunny South Side. And also, too, it is a way to combat gentrification. We need to be able to dictate what is being built within our communities. I'm not for short-term rentals, for example. I personally believe that it lowers the stock, and this allows for folks to be able to own homes in our neighborhood. So that historic preservation is critical to not only to maintain the cultural integrity of South Dallas, but also to combat that displacement that basically everybody on the panel has talked about, because we know how big of an issue it is. I personally believe that many more of our neighborhoods need to be able to do this. Again, because this gentrification, this displacement is not just taking people out of their homes, it's taking out our businesses, it's taking out the influx of folks who would want to live in South Dallas, we need to maintain the cultural integrity
Thank you,
of the
Mr.
sunny
Hudson.
South Side.
Ms. Walker.
I guess I'm going to be the the outlier here. Originally, I participated in getting the historic overlay for Queen City, and I have to say that I disagree with it now.
So that's a no.
That's a no. And why I disagree with it is there's an expense that comes with historic overlays that when you're doing repairs to your house, you have to keep to those standards. And so what Forward Dallas, and also it was addressed in the South Dallas Fair Park plan, there were standards put in there for the design of the new builds of the houses for this area. So as a community, you all have already spoken to, you want pitch roofs, you want front porches, you know, all of those things. You want a backyard, you want a front yard. So it's there. We don't have to have this historic overlay that will tie up people being able to renovate their homes and add an additional cost to things.
Thank you. Mr. Rivas.
Yes, ma'am. I'm a yes on the conservation district. I think what it does is protect your neighborhoods. More importantly, it is you that decided that you wanted the conservation district. It wasn't City Hall telling you that you needed to do it. It wasn't me, who doesn't live in your neighborhood, telling you what you should do to your home. I do see the issue with it putting additional costs on our neighbors, but this is what the community wants, and we should listen to our community when they ask for things. When they demand that their neighborhoods be protected, we need to support them, we need to listen to them. So yes.
Thank you. I want to remind everyone that if you have additional questions, you may have follow-up questions, that there should be paper and pens being passed around. Great, if our documenters, if you'll just hold that in the air, they can grab them and pass them over. Oh, wonderful, love to see that. All right, we're moving on to an issue that you already have addressed, but in terms of economics. And we're going to change it up a little bit. I'm going to start with you, Mr. Hudson, but we're going to go reverse order now, just for fun. Millions of taxpayer dollars, both city and federal, are being poured into Fair Park and the Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard corridor.
Yes.
Simultaneously, the South Dallas business community is facing rising social challenges, specifically around the Martin Luther King Jr. DART station, such as homelessness, crime, environmental issues, and a lack of needed infrastructure. Currently, each of these issues is the focus of a different city department. What is the council member's role in providing a coordinated response so the community can see progress and benefit from these investments?
Yes, ma'am. So absolutely, you know, one of the roles that I always say when it comes to being a city council person is you're a liaison. You're a liaison from the community to the government, the bureaucracy, and the neighborhoods. So you have to be able to be there to make sure that you can provide the access to programs and the funding that's already exists. I mean, for example, we're blessed enough that we have the South Dallas Opportunity Fund so that we have that ability to be able to bring in more money to these small businesses and the entrepreneurs that are all over this district, specifically in South Dallas. And you're absolutely right. Fair Park generates $680 million worth of revenue per year, and we don't see the fruits of that labor. Millions of dollars are pouring into this fair, which, by the way, that fair has eminent domain and actually taken away from the community, and we have not seen that ROI back. So in my opinion, there needs to be far more emphasis from our economic development, and when it comes to being able to, our programs to be able to provide opportunities and funding opportunities for our small business to be able to be put together and maintain.
Thank you, Mr. Hudson. Mr. Belzedu, I'm going to repeat the question just because it was a long one, just the end of it. What is the council member's role in providing a coordinated response so the community can see progress and benefit from these investments?
I believe my role is to be an extension of the voice of the stakeholders, which is why we took the time that was needed to bring in one of the biggest comprehensive area plans of any neighborhood. West Oak Cliff area plan and now South Dallas Fair Park area plan is helping to shape what that future looks like. I'm proud of the investments that we've brought into Fair Park and into the MLK corridor. That's after 3 failed attempts to get those federal dollars for the MLK corridor. Now we need to make sure that it is conducive to the growth for the actual community. Bringing in all of the departments is absolutely my job. The city manager works for me. And if I don't act in that manner, then I am not adequately representing the constituents that I serve. I think that it's really important to note that these numbers that were just cited on the revenue brought in from Fair Park is not from Fair Park. Fair Park is 277 acres that's a part of our municipal park series.
Thank you, Mr. Bazaldua. Mr. Rivas.
Yes. Real quick on the last question, the end of that question, please.
Yes, what is the council member's role in providing a coordinated response so the community can see progress and benefit from these investments?
Thank you for that. Okay, so the council member's job is to herd the cats at City Hall. That means the city manager. It would be really helpful to have a council member that actually has a city manager that works for them to make sure that they're executing on the mission and vision of what the community needs. So when it comes to crime and homelessness, is making sure that that city manager is following through and coming up with a plan to address those issues so that the community doesn't have to worry about that, and it allows our businesses to bloom. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Walker.
All righty. So the biggest thing, as Joe Rivas said, herding the cats, and as a project manager, that's all that you do. So it's a matter of taking the priorities of that area and taking it to Public Works, taking it to the emergency response team that's handling the homeless solutions, and working with them to say, you know, we need this project done. We need infrastructure here. We need sewage here so the rain isn't collecting in pools of water over by the DART station, cleaning up to get people to get services as a homeless person so they can be integrated back into society. So as a city council member, it is your job to translate your constituents' priorities into a plan of action and make that happen. So as a project manager, I always push the gas on the teams to get them to deliver on time and on budget. And that's what I feel like my role would be.
Thank you, Ms. Walker. We're actually going to start with you on this next one. And I want you to be specific in these answers. Name the single most important economic issue facing South Dallas, and name the tool you would use specifically to address it as a council member.
Sure. I think the biggest economic issue that we have here is business development. And a tool that I would use, and we had one previously, was the South Dallas Fair Park PID to help businesses with investment in their infrastructure, also with cleaning up the area, providing the security that didn't necessarily seem to have come with that PID, to make the perception of South Dallas become less than it's crime-ridden, it's not safe, it's drug-ridden, there's homeless everywhere. So people will feel comfortable coming back here to explore the businesses and the amenities that we can open up. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Heston. Same question, specific economic issue, specific city tool to address it.
Yes, ma'am. So one of the biggest issues when it comes to economics, y'all, and wanting to bring in new business, wanting to bring in investment, you know, we want to make sure that that investment in those businesses that are coming in are going to be serving the folks that are living here now. Now, if we have a bunch of renters and no homeowners, and we don't own our properties and own our homes, we won't be able to devise an economy here to be able to be able to get some of those investments. So one of the biggest things that I personally want to make sure that we have full funding and even more funding, expand the funding, is the home repair program. We have to make sure that our legacy homeowners can maintain their homes here. We have to make sure that folks coming here can maintain their homes and our properties are maintained, because if they're not, we won't be able to have economic development, because folks won't be able to own their property or own their homes here in South Dallas. So that is going to be one of our major policy pushes.
Thank you. Mr. Bezeldua.
Yes, to answer your question, infrastructure is by far the biggest hurdle. What we have been given because of long time neglect is a lack of infrastructure. You look at the history of our city, and we had leaders in the past that prioritized getting infrastructure set in places that they wanted to see development. So right off the top, when I have developers that come in that want to build homes for home ownership, like one that's in the audience now, that got held up for several years because of environmental remediation, because of infrastructure need, that also drives cost up. When we're driving cost up, we're making these deals not pencilable. And if they're not pencilable, we can't market the area. And it's really unfortunate, especially when it comes to affordable housing, because that needs to be even more.
Name the city tool. What city tool are we using to address infrastructure?
Well, our budget.
Okay.
And the TIF dollars. We had a historic transfer of the TIF fund that was just recently passed, and that's a tool that's being used currently.
Thank you. Mr. Rivas.
Yes, economic development, and I'll tell you why. The economic development is not just new business, it's supporting our current small business owners that are struggling here in the district. And the specific tool to have that remediated is addressing the public safety issue. So long as we lead in murders and lead in violent crime, which we've done for the last 5 years, people are not going to want to come here and invest. People are not going to want it. They're going to be scared to come here to frequent our businesses. So I want to make sure that we address our public safety issues so that we can grow our economic development. Thank you.
Thank you. Apologies for all of our technical stuff. Moving to budget, and Mr. Rivas, we're going to start with you this time.
Sure.
Last November, voters instructed the city to hire 400 officers and stated the need to hire up to 900. At the same time, the Police and Fire Pension Fund needs a projected $3 billion to become solvent. What specific changes need to be made to the budget to accomplish this?
All right. I really think that the council, working with our city manager, needs to identify or have our city manager identify areas where we're spending a lot of money and it's not reaching our community or it's not benefiting the city as a whole. So I would definitely want to see that to save money so that we could address that issue.
Thank you. Ms. Walker.
I agree with Joe Rivas. We're going to have to look at trimming the fat in other places. And we also have to look at the individual's contributions, unfortunately, to help make this solvent. And it's not going to be an easy task to make this happen. But it has to be done if we are going to attract and retain officers so we can keep and reach the number of officers that we need here in Dallas.
Thank you. Mr. Hessen.
Test. Yes, ma'am. As a city, we need to hold more of our developers accountable. We need to hold more of our stakeholders accountable, our third parties accountable. The city, we rely so heavily on third parties in our RFPs. We rely so heavily, things that I personally believe that the city has the ability to do. Unfortunately, because of that, we lose money when we have irresponsible developers or irresponsible folks who are managing our properties or managing the Fair Park, for example. Millions of dollars are being lost from irresponsible developers. So we need to look down and look at who are we giving money to as a city? Where is that money going? Who is it benefiting? Because we all know it ain't benefiting us. So we got to make sure that we're holding, as a city and as a council, to hold these folks accountable so that, again, we can trim the fat, but also, too, that a lot of that fat that we're trimming is just money that we're just giving away to developers that's just wasting it on their properties, on their dime, and on their wealth, and not ours. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bazaldua.
Yes, thank you for the question. First, I want to make sure it's very clear that the police and fire pension is not just about the police. Our firefighters also are dependent on this pension plan, and we don't have the same retention problem with the firefighters. So I think it's very important to note that it's nothing other than fear-mongering to attribute something to what there's no data to support. And it's also irresponsible. We have already, as a council, passed a 5-year step-up plan, and it was inclusive of all of the associations. It was inclusive of the legislature, who has already given a bailout once, and it is inclusive of a 13th check to allow for a stipend, because despite the state statute that doesn't allow for us to give a cost of living adjustment to our retirees, we figured out a way to furnish a third check to make up for it until we get to the 70% solvency that is required by the state before we are allowed to issue any COLA. But that has already been passed by council, that's already in motion, and it's already been agreed upon by all of the agencies.
Thank you, Mr. Bazaldua. The next two are going to be short and sweet because, as you can tell, we have lots of great audience questions. And this one is a fill in the blank. Mr. Bazaldua, I'll start with you. If a constituent calls or emails my office with a question or request, they will receive a response within blank.
Well, I'd hope within the same day or for sure the same week, depending on what the request is and how much legwork has to get into the response.
Thank you. Mr. Rivas.
Within a day.
Thank you. Ms. Walker.
Within a day.
Thank you. Mr. Hessen.
Within less than a day. How about that?
It's like The Price is Right. All right, if elected, and I realize I'm asking this, and Mr. Bazaldua just mentioned that the South Dallas Fair Park Area Plan should be approved by council within the month. Let's pretend for a second that's not the case. If elected, will you approve the new South Dallas Fair Park Area Plan and initiate an authorized hearing to change the zoning for PD 595? Mr. Hessen, let's go with you.
That question one more time. Sorry.
Yes, of course. If elected, will you approve the new South Dallas Fair Park Area Plan and initiate an authorized hearing to change the zoning for PD 595?
I would authorize a new hearing. I don't know if I would approve that plan.
Okay.
I need to make sure that we understand that South Dallas Fair Park needs to, we need to really look at the fair. We need to make sure that we're actually getting what we're paying into. We host, as South Dallas, the fair. We host the folk that come in. We're going to be hosting FIFA. So are we going to be able to benefit from the development in the area plans that's changing so they can most benefit, and the ability for us to really truly understand the plan as a neighborhood so we can make a decision together so that we know that the historical detriment that Fair Park has on this neighborhood can be remedied correctly and as a unit.
Great. Ms. Walker, two questions. Will you approve the South Dallas Fair Park Area Plan and initiate an authorized hearing to change the zoning?
Yes and yes. The community spoke. You all put together the updates for the plan. There's no need to going back over it. I would have liked to have participated, but I had a family member I had to take care of. So yes, and as far as the zoning, I want to make sure that everyone understands the changes that will come and what that impact will be. So when the zoning is changed, there are no surprises, because when that happens, South Dallas is going to change. And hopefully we are there front and center benefiting from those changes. So when it happens, and I'm your councilwoman because that's what a vote for Sydney Walker will do, get ready. We're going to make it happen and we're going to shine.
Thank you. Mr. Rivas.
Yes on the hearing. On the zoning, I would like to take a slight pause only so that I, as a council member, can make sure that every single voice in our community is heard on whether they agree with the zoning update or not. I think that's hugely important. I don't want to go in and just blanket approve something that happened before me. I want to make sure that it's set up so that we don't end up having a contract-like issue like what we did with Fair Park. So I want to make sure I understand the impact to our communities, and I want to make sure the voice of our communities is heard.
Thank you. Mr. Balzadua.
Yes, I am beyond proud of the work that the community has put in for 5 years on the area plan for South Dallas. So I would absolutely approve it. In fact, I have also already initiated an authorized hearing 3 years ago that was unanimously approved by council, and that's been working simultaneously with the area plan as it's been built. It's already gone through CPC, and it should be coming as well to council within the next couple of months. A holistic approach to this zoning was critical on why there was even a need for our area plan. So shaping what the future was not just in the hands of the citywide comprehensive land use plan known as Forward Dallas 2.0. There was a specific tailored plan for South Dallas that was not initiated by me other than to start the process. This was voices from the community, and this document is a 5-year living document that I think would be an insult to the community if it was not passed.
Thank you, Mr. Balzadua. All right. Those are the end of our scheduled questions, and now I'm gonna thank you for having my work cut out for me. This is gonna be fun. I will not have time to get to all of your amazing questions, and there's some really good ones in here, so I will encourage you. Oh, and there's more. I will take them though, and we will, at Dallas Free Press, we are gonna work on getting your questions answered post the event, and I would also encourage you to stay and talk to the candidates afterward in the fellowship hall and ask your questions individually. We've got a few questions here about TIFs and PIDs, and please correct me if I am getting these acronyms incorrect, but TIF, Tax Increment Finance District, PID, Public Improvement District. South Dallas either has or has had both. There are questions about, what happens about mysteriously reappropriated monies. What will you do to make sure South Dallas receives its equal share? There's also, questions about, will you advocate for a temporary suspension of property tax increase? I realize these are both tax increases in a sense to neighbors. I've heard some advocacy already for TIFs and PIDs. I would like to know where you stand on whether they benefit, yes or no, the neighborhood, and how you will work to make sure that they are continuing to benefit the neighborhood. I'm going to go backward the direction. Mr. Balzadua, let's start with you on that.
Thank you. I am supportive, of course, of both of those economic development tools. I think that they have been some of the most powerful tools that we have in our city, across the city. They just haven't been properly utilized in South Dallas. Right now, we've changed that around. Our TIF district, for the first time in our city's history, looked at a transfer of funds from the Deep Ellum TIF. Usually when a TIF goes out of its life per the state statute, the money rolls, the increment rolls back into the general fund for the last 5 years. Instead of that happening into the general fund, I got that transfer to come to Grand Park South TIF. So we have an influx of $28 million now to utilize over the next 5 years. With that, the current TIF board has already approved $2 million of those funds to go for minor home repairs and a program to help keep seniors in their homes. In addition, the PID was misused in South Dallas, but I believe there is still a place for it. We have successfully brought one to Far East Dallas with the Ferguson Road Initiative, and I believe it's going to be a game changer for any neighborhood that would embrace it. Thank you.
Mr. Rivas.
Yeah, so TIFs and PIDs, obviously really, really good tools that we need for our neighborhoods. I would really like to delve into why those funds have been misappropriated before we move forward. I think we need to do that. And when it comes to our property owners, we need to be lowering our property tax rate, and that's what we'll do.
Thank you, Ms. Walker.
Sure. So do you understand when we have a TIF, roughly lasts about 20 to 25 years, and PIDs are kind of set for a smaller time period, and that's to cover the bonds that are issued for the funds that will be paid to the area that the TIF is in. So one, we have to make sure that we have transparency. The South Dallas Fair Park PID, part of the fight that I was part of with getting it repealed was that we just couldn't find out where the money was going. We didn't get the security from the police that was supposed to be done to patrol the MLK area to make sure that people were safe, and we could attract the businesses into the area so we could have that additional amenities. So great tools. We just have to make sure that we are being very transparent with where every dollar is going.
Mr. Hessen.
I'm gonna have to agree with you. I'm gonna keep it sweet just because everyone basically was stating the same thing that we all really need to understand. TIF and PIDs can be utilized effectively for our neighborhoods. They absolutely can, but they've been historically used against us and weaponized against us. So, just like Mr. Rivas, just like Ms. Sidney, we need to make sure that there is full accountability of where these misappropriated funds are going. We need to make sure that these fundings is allocated to the stakeholders within our community, like our small businesses and our elderly with their homes. So again, I'm basically saying what they all said. TIFs and PIDs are excellent economic tools to be able to spur new economic growth within the community. However, we need to make sure they're used effectively for us and money is not being misallocated by irresponsible leadership. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to go to, do we have time for, okay, great. We're going to keep going. I'm going to cut you down to 30 seconds, though.
Woo!
Mr. Hogan,
All right.
good with this? 30 seconds, okay?
The speed round.
Speed round, yes. So, city tools, again, what can be done about all the empty lots in the area to help drive more developers? The empty lots get a lot of trash dumping and criminal activity. Mr. Rivas, I'm going to start with you.
So the question is, what can we do
What
with
can be
empty
done
lots?
about the empty lots in the area?
Well, we need to find out if they're, we need to be able to identify, is it city-owned property? If it's city-owned property, city needs to take ownership of that and make sure they're clean and make sure people can't get onto them. If it is a out-of-state owner or a absentee landlord that isn't taking care of their property, then we need to seek some justice on that one.
Thank you. Mr. Hessen, I'm going to jump to you.
Yes, ma'am. Two things. One, we already have one of our tools with the South Dallas Opportunity Fund to make sure that we can have monies to raise the property values of small businesses and things already existing in the neighborhood. Two, when it comes to these properties that these cities own, I work with co-compliance a lot in nuisance abatement, and they need to be activated, and they need to understand what is going on in these properties. Why is the city allowed to have a bunch of trash on it, but you're going to give me a ticket? So let's activate co-compliance, nuisance abatement, and sanitation.
Great. Thank you. Mr. Bazaldua?
Yes, I'm proud to have brought an entire division to code compliance specific to Southeast Dallas. And the dumping is not, unfortunately, an anomaly just to South Dallas community. It's all of Southern Dallas because of the vacant property. That was one step in the right direction. In addition to that, we have to invest in infrastructure. Again, a lot of these lots are remaining vacant because there isn't infrastructure for them to be developed. And we have to make sure that we have these lots key ready so that we can continue to grow. If it's infill within our single family neighborhoods, new homes, if it's along corridors, more economic growth.
Yes, we have nonprofits that are buying these lots. No, Chodos, I mean, they buy lots and build houses on them. So I'm kind of curious as to why the city still owns a lot of lots. As far as private ownership of the lots, we're just going to have to require owners to put fences around their properties and do more to maintain them so they're not a blight to the neighborhood until they decide what they're going to build on them. Thank you.
Thank you all. Next question, again, speed round, 30 seconds. Grocery stores come up often. What can the city actually do about grocery stores. Ms. Walker, I'm going to start with you.
Sure. There's been a lot of debate that I've had online with it. So the community needs to do more to drive what grocery stores they want in their area. And I know it's difficult because we are in a food desert, but at some point we're just going to have to stand up and say, I don't want it until you give me what I want. If I want a big box store, then as a community, you need to stand up, band together, and demand that it comes, and not get a lower version down, poor man's grocery store
Thank you,
in your
Ms.
area.
Walker. Mr. Bazaldua, you're up. What can the city actually do about grocery stores?
Well, I'm proud that we've opened 3 in the 6 years that I've been in office, but 1 in South Dallas, and 2 on the eastern part of the district, 1 that's north of 30 and 1 in south of 30. In addition to that, we started a program with Kroger for the first 3 locations in the country to have an unconventional approach to getting groceries accessible to communities who are living in food deserts. Food insecurity is a passion of mine. I come from the food industry, and I taught culinary arts with DISD, and this has been and will remain a priority of mine.
Thank you. Mr. Rivas.
Yes, we need to expand the Kroger, delivery service for all of our residents in District 7. We've got areas out in Pleasant Grove that aren't being serviced as well. So I'd like to see that expanded. And I'd actually like to add on to, we need to stop settling. And I want our community to stand up so that I can bring city services to clean up whatever it is we need to clean up so that we can bring in investment in grocery stores.
Thank you, Mr. Hessen.
Test. Yes, ma'am. So we don't just necessarily live in a food desert, y'all. We live in a food swamp. The food that we are ingesting is not dietarily beneficial to us. So we must reimagine what it means to have a grocery store in our communities. We need to be able to make sure, and we're lucky enough that hopefully the parking limits will be removed so that we have the ability to have spaces so we can have smaller neighborhood food options. That also, as someone who's going to be your leader for this council,
Thank you,
I'm gonna get a black
Mr.
and brown
Hessen.
person to come and do.
I'm actually going to come right back to you. There are questions about the home repair program and not enough people from the city being able to access
Yes,
it.
ma'am.
What do you do about that? As well as what responsibilities does the city have to renters?
Yes, so for renters, we and as y'all know what's happening in the state legislature right now, tenants are under attack. We are under attack, renters are under attack, so and I actually thank Adam for going out there and advocating on tenants' behalf. That's a big deal. However, when it comes to, I'm drawing a blank, I apologize, with the home repair program, we were helping a lady that with the home repair program, and if there wasn't enough money left, it needs to be expanded. As someone who will be your next city council person, we're going to expand that program.
Thank you. Mr. Bazaldua.
I have, just as I said earlier, added money to this program every single fiscal year that I've been in office. In addition to that, any discretionary dollars that we have had, we have created programs specific for our district. We have done more home repair in District 7 than any other district in the entire city, and that is proof. That's not a promise, that is proof, and it will continue to be a priority of mine over the next 2 years.
Thank you. Ms. Walker?
Sure. As far as the home repair, I know quite a few people that have been on the list for a long time. So I think some things need to be done with prioritizing the list to move some people up. And Carrie, I'm sorry, renters. Yes. So tenant rights have to be protected. We have to do more for that. The pandemic showed how vulnerable our renters are. So we're going to have to start making smart choices when it comes to looking out for each other.
Thank you, Ms. Walker. Mr. Rivas.
Yes, so the permitting office just recently lost almost $9 million due to an admin error. That's $9 million that could have gone to home repair. Oh my God. Okay, so we need to stop hemorrhaging money at the city level so that we can fund our home repair. The other thing with home repair is I want to make sure that our elderly residents and our low-income residents who rely on that are able to not necessarily have a very strong lien on their property because they've got to put up their property, a secondary lien on their property when they do that. For tenants, we need to hold our landlords accountable.
Thank you. Mr. Rivas, I'm going to come right back to you. South Dallas has a great potential for recreational green spaces, Fair Park, Martin Luther King Community Center, lively art scene. What will it take to, and what plans do you have to maintain these crucial spaces or to expand them?
Well, we could start by not spending $50 million on a renovation of a convention center for one event that's about to get torn down. That $50 million could have gone into Fair Park. We need to bring in more arts projects, including local arts projects. We got a lot of local artists that could showcase their work and their talents at Fair Park. What was that fault? There was a second piece on that one.
Maintain and expand crucial spaces.
Yeah, so the spine trail is still coming through.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Bazaldua.
Yes, I brought the largest investment to Fair Park in our city's history, which was over $300 million that didn't even cost the taxpayer a dime. I went down to Austin, I worked the halls, I got bipartisan support to amend a carve-out for Fair Park that doesn't exist for any other park in the entire state that allowed for us to draw from hotel occupancy tax. That's number one. Number two, I prioritize the MLK Center as an asset for the community because I know how vital it is. That was my biggest priority in this last bond, and thank you to the voters who helped us approve it because we have $20 million for a redo of the MLK Center.
Can you please restate the question one more time?
Yes, it's recreational green spaces. How will you work to maintain and expand them?
Yes, ma'am. So everyone understands that Fair Park is not a green space. It is a giant heat sink that is actually heating up our property. So we need to be able to reclaim some of that land. Also, too, Gennaro Park that's in Dixon Circle behind there, it is a park that's been abandoned. We don't understand what's going on with that park. It is a designated park by Parks and Rec, and it is an area where there's a lot of illegal dumping and there's a lot of trafficking going on. So we need to reclaim our green spaces. We need to reclaim the land.
Thank you, Mr.
reclaim these
Hudson.
properties.
Ms. Walker.
Well, we have a public-private partnership for Fair Park that really isn't working, so we need to revisit that contract to see what can be done to improve things better for that partnership to work and make sure that the nonprofit is going to bring the green space to the Fair Park with the community park there. We actually have a good amount of green space in South Dallas, unbeknownst to a lot of people. So
Thank you, Ms. Walker.
Yes.
We're going to do one more. Okay. Here we go. 30 seconds.
Woo.
What considerations from the city are being discussed or need to be discussed regarding the unintentional drag strip created by the flattening of SM Wright and other streets such as Latimer?
Yeah.
That's you.
Yes. So we're going to have more patrolling or use more technology in order to address this issue. It's happening even in the Buckner Terrace area. So drones are a tool that we can use to monitor what's going on and then dispatch our police officers to break it up. So that's something that we can do to minimize and hopefully curb this type of activity.
Thank you. Mr. Rivas.
Yes, drag racing is an issue across our district from north to east to south. Everybody suffers from it. But on SM Wright, what we could do is add more flock cameras that would catch some of those drivers, and increase enforcement. But the flock cameras catch the license plate, and that's exactly, the police can follow up on those. So that's what we need to do. We need to use technology smarter and enforce the law.
Thank you. Mr. Bazaldua.
Yeah, of course, more patrol is going to be helpful. However, I do think that it's important to note that the reason that criminals feel that they can participate in criminal activity, it's usually in places that are most conducive for them to engage in the criminal activity. Economic growth is also a huge tool. There's a reason that there's a difference in what you see from drag racing here or in Buckner Terrace versus that of Lakewood or in Preston Hollow. We have to be serious about investing in our community and make sure that they know it's not their playground.
Mr. Hesson.
Test. Of course, adequate police presence is going to be key, but there needs to be a buy-in from the surrounding neighborhoods and being able to understand that we can create a coalition to be able to bring down some of the crime that's happening, especially when it comes to drag racing. Like, again, like everyone said, they're drag racing because they feel like they can. At the end of the day, they feel like they can. They feel like that no one's going to stop them, and so there needs to be a response, not only from our police but also from our community, and there needs to be from the community and the police. There needs to be a collaboration together.
Thank you all for participating. Thank you for your willingness to run for office. Thank you, Mr. Hogan, for keeping our time. Thank you to our hosts. Thank you, everyone. I'll take more questions if you have them, all right?
Thank you.
Go back to the fellowship hall. We have time, so we have allotted 25, almost 30 minutes to engage them directly. But I want you to also remind yourself, this is a very difficult job. I don't care who gets it. It's a difficult job, and it is not a job to be taken lightly. If you don't love the community, you can't be in this position, because it requires you to be away from your family. It requires you to be focused, and it requires you, when you want to be at home, to be at forums like this to engage the community. So I solicit your prayers for our candidates, but I also, if there is a runoff, we will gather again with those candidates who have made it to the runoff election in this place, and we will gather again to engage them directly. Amen? Please go to the fellowship hall and engage them. There's cookies that has been provided. And amen. So please go back and enjoy it. Amen. Right here in the fellowship hall. Right here in the fellowship hall. Please engage them. Please ask them your questions. Shake their hand. Talk to them. Have those one-on-one conversations.